Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today in the kitchen, we are going to be playing with some hot peppers. We've had some wild weather in the Maritimes this year and my peppers have gone a little bit crazy. So I'm going to show you how to make one of our family staples. It's candied hot peppers. These things are amazing. You will use them everywhere. Let's get ready to get started. As you can see, my Hungarian hot wax pepper plants and my jalapeno plants have done really well this summer. It's time now for me to do just this, get picking and start getting these ready for us to enjoy for the rest of the year. What we like to do is have candied hot peppers, especially on nachos. They're a family favorite. These candied hot peppers are just gonna add so much oomph to anything that you add them in. Because we're going to be pickling them in a very sweet brine, when you eat them, you first get that sweet, but then you get the heat. So it's such a great combination of the two. What I've done is, normally I see this recipe made with just jalapenos. I usually end up using whatever hot peppers I have on hand. I started making this recipe actually when one of my local farmers that I source a lot of my produce from, she had these, just like a variety of hot peppers in a bag, $5 a bag for 1 pound. I brought them home and went, what am I gonna do? So this is what I figured out how to do. You can find the recipe for candied jalapenos in the Ball Fresh Preserving website, or you can also, I believe it's in one of their cookbooks as well. So, but for sure you can find it on freshpreserving.com. So if you're looking for the recipe, you should head on straight over there. Meanwhile, let's get started. So the first thing that you're going to need is to gather your ingredients. In this case, I've got a great big bowl of beautiful peppers. I've even got a sweet Italian pepper in here. Because I only had one that was ready on my plant, I thought, I'll throw it in. It'll be a fun surprise. You're also going to need a scale, a kitchen scale, so I have mine handy. The ingredients for your brine are sugar, cider vinegar, or white vinegar, but I prefer cider personally. You're going to need mustard seeds, celery seed, turmeric, and some garlic. You're gonna need a nice amount of sugar as well. That's where you get the sweet. And by all means, guys, don't forget the gloves. Trust me, you'll only do it once where you cut hot peppers without gloves and then not want to touch anything for the next 4 days. Trust me. So I'm going to get started by grabbing my gloves and my kitchen scale. This, I've kind of reduced the recipe a little bit because I don't have 4 pounds of peppers, which is what the Fresh Preserving website recipe calls for. So I think I have like 1 to 2 pounds of peppers here. What I'm gonna do is I am going to just start cutting with the gloves and we'll find out how many pounds I have, so that way I know how much brine to make to go with it. Now, when it comes to the hot peppers, of course, the heat's in the seeds, right? So you can leave the seeds in, you can take them out. I like to do a mix of both. It's completely up to you, but you'll decide what you think is best, and just give them a nice slice into some rings. I've already washed these peppers, they're ready to go. So this one, I'll just kind of take my giant knife and cut around the membrane. And then as I cut, you'll see that the seeds fall right out. Here we go, guys. We've got the hot peppers all sliced up and I prepared the brine. So we'll just go through the recipe with you really quickly and then talk about the next steps. So because I have just under 2 pounds of jalapenos instead of the 4 pounds that the Fresh Preserving website recipe calls for, I'm having the recipe. So I'll go through the recipe with you at full tilt, but because I'm doing it I'm doing a half batch. I don't want to confuse you as I put the ingredients in and you go, what? Okay, so when you're making the brine, grab a pot. You're going to want to add 3 cups of vinegar, whether white vinegar or apple cider vinegar, completely your choice. We prefer the apple cider vinegar here at my house. Then you want to add in 2 teaspoons of salt, followed by 4 cups of sugar. Then add in 2 teaspoons of turmeric. Do not skip the turmeric. It's really, really good. Adding in a half a teaspoon of cayenne, and that's kind of optional. So if you think this is going to be hot enough for yours and your family's taste buds, then you can skip the cayenne, but I added it in here and it's going to be really good. Follow that up by 2 teaspoons of mustard seed. You can't forget the mustard seed. And that's it. This is your brine. So the next step is that I'm going to put the brine on the stove and bring it to a boil. And you're gonna really wanna watch this because when it boils, there's a lot of sugar in it, right? So it can boil over. So make sure that you're there so you can stir it down. And then once it comes to a boil, add in your sliced hot peppers and let them simmer for 15 minutes. Now, while it's simmering, I am going to finish prepping what I call my filling station so that I can get my jars filled and ready to go into my steam canner, because this recipe needs to be processed in either a hot water bath canner or a steam canner, whichever one you prefer to use. So let's get this brine on the stove, bring it to the boil, add in those jalapenos, and prep the jars for our next step. Here we go. So the brine came to a boil and then, ooh, I'm just turning it down. It came to a boil and then I turned it down and added the jalapenos and the Hungarian hot wax peppers. And now I just had to turn it down again because we're finally at that point. I've got to let it simmer now for 15 minutes and then we can get ready to get it into the jars and into the canner. So right now I've got my jars cleaned and washed and they're in some hot water in the sink waiting until I can pop these babies in it. So I'll go and prep my filling station. Okay, here we go. We have got the pickled hot peppers. Well, they're getting pickly. So it's time for us to put them into jars. I've got, because I've got about 2 pounds of jalapenos, I've got 3 jars prepared, but I'm probably only going to need 2. So you want to make sure that your jars are clean and you want them to be hot. So what I do is I wash them and then I run a sink of the hottest water that my tap will pump out and let my jars sit in that water until it's time for me to get to this process, which is filling. So I've got my canning funnel handy here. I'm going to start by using a slotted spoon because I want to try to make as much, I want to see if I can get as even as possible. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to say something, apparently. Anyway, I want to see if I can have an even amount of peppers in the 2 jars and then top it up with the brine afterwards. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do like 2. Ooh, this smells so good. And then I'm gonna just switch the funnel over and do the same thing here. This way I don't have a jar that has a ton of peppers in it and another jar that doesn't have very many and it's mostly brine. I mean, the brine is delicious and everything, don't get me wrong, but it is nice to fill the jars up with peppers. So I'll just do like 2. That's it. And then add some more here. 1 and 2. And there are still, ooh, there's still some more peppers in there. So I'm going to have a 3rd jar. This is exciting stuff. There's actually too many in here. I'm just gonna use a spoon and try to remove a few. Or just, oh, I could just pack it down. That works too. Either way. So, now I'm gonna use my ladle to just get the brine to the proper headspace. So the headspace we're looking for these jars is 1/2 inch. And if you're not sure what a 1/2 inch headspace is and you don't have a ruler or anything to measure it, here's a quick cheater way to do it. So this, when you look at the rings on the jar that are coming around the thread, the very top of the thread, that's 1/4 inch. The second thread where it starts is 1/2 inch, and the rim is 1 inch. So this will help it'll help you figure out what the headspace is. So let's take a peek. How close am I? I'm getting there. So I'm just gonna turn it so I can get to that bottom of the thread. There we go. I'm now at 1/2 inch of headspace for this one. Ooh, and she's hot. So let's do the same for the next jar. I guess I don't actually need this spoon to still be in here, do I? And then we're almost there. And we are at 1/2 inch of headspace for this one. So this jar that I'm going to fill up, it's mostly brine. There are still some peppers in here, but for my purposes, I'm not sure, we'll see how much there is, but I'm thinking that instead of processing this one, I'm just gonna put it in the fridge, and this way we can have some, yeah, there's not a lot. So I probably could have fit those into the other jars, but this will be nice for later. And yes, I'm going to save this brine. Why, you ask? Well, because, oh, okay, there we go. The brine by itself is so freaking good. We use it, we pour it onto nachos. We also, as well as putting the peppers on, we also pour some of the brine onto the nachos. It gives it that nice sort of sweet heat. It makes a wonderful marinade. So if you've got some chicken or some pork chops, you can absolutely marinate it in this leftover brine. So good. Mix it in with some cream cheese so that you've got a little bit of sweet heat into a dip or something. Like, there's a lot of things that you can use this brine for. So right now I am just going to wipe the rims of the jars before I process them. Actually, you know what? I'm going to process all three. That's just dandy because I've got the canner ready to go anyway. So I'm going to use this to kind of push those peppers down a bit. This one still isn't quite the right headspace. So again, don't be afraid to come back in if you like, I think it's a little low. Oh, because here's what you should be doing. You should be debubbling. And I use a straw for this, or a chopstick, or what have you. And what you can do is you just take that and you can push it down the sides of your jar, and it helps to remove any trapped air bubbles that are in here. And that is also something that sometimes changes your headspace if you've done you're like, oh, wait a minute. Like, not dramatically, but a little bit. And this one, really, there's not much to worry about because it's almost all liquid. So I'm gonna take this hot, wet paper towel and just wipe the rims of all three jars, because after all of this work, you wanna make sure that your lids have a good contact with the lip of your jar so that they will seal. So once you've cleaned the lip and debubbled, you can take your clean lids. They don't have to be boiled, but they should be a little bit warm. So again, I just throw them in the sink with that hot water that I've got the jars in, and then tighten the rings to fingertip tight. You don't have to go whole hog on this. It doesn't have to be super tight. And now I'm going to put this into my steam canner and process for 15 minutes. Now, if you don't have a steam canner and you prefer to do a boiling water bath, you can absolutely do that. Grab your water bath canner or the pot that you are going to use for your hot water bath and pop these in here again. Bring it back up to a boil. Once it hits the boil, then you start timing your 15 minutes from there. Once you're done, it's always a good idea to turn the heat off and just let everything sit there for an additional 5 minutes. You don't want to go from very, very hot to out on the counter really quickly. You need to give it a little bit of time to acclimate. So there we go. Let's pop these in the canner and I'll see you here in 20 minutes. Here we go. Our candied hot peppers are ready. I now have 5 jars. I did a second batch. So now we'll be prepared for a little while here in the Hudson household. These are just so great on anything where you would normally use a jalapeno or a hot pepper, and it just elevates it because again, they're a sweet brine, so you've got that sweet, sweet bit at the beginning, but the heat does come through and it's super enjoyable. So give this a whirl, whether with your nachos or, you know, mix them with some cream cheese. That way you've got a really great dip. I even throw these in when I'm making guacamole instead of using a regular jalapeno if I just don't happen to have any on hand. So give this a whirl. I'd love to know what you think. Again, the recipe is from Ball, so you'll find it on freshpreserving.com, and it's definitely a great one to give a try. Now, I'd love to know what you'd like to see me make next. Anything as far as canning, preserving, dehydrating, safe food preservation is my jam, you might have noticed. So if you've got some suggestions, drop them in the comments below and let me know so that way I can get hopping on that for you. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please be sure to like it and subscribe to the channel. I'm always doing something here in the kitchen and I love to share it with you. All right, wish me luck, kiddo. Please don't stop recording. Don't stop recording. Okay.